Why do you guys prefer your own sound?
It's part of our instruments. Basically, the thing that I have to say about doing our own sound is, first of all, it creates consistency. We have very good gear. I have the knowledge of doing sound in most of the rooms in the United States, including the big ones, Glen Echo and the Concord Scout House and such. And now Warren Wilson, which is really great. But what it does is it creates consistency to our sound. We sound a certain way, and when it's interpreted, when I say interpreted, because the instruments that we call our speakers and our gear are the same as saying, this is part of our sound system too. You know, our instruments, our speakers, our cables, our mixer, the way we EQ the room, the way we EQ the feet, they're all our instruments, and I am constantly tuning throughout the night so that we are able to put out our sound. When it is interpreted by somebody else, it's the same as saying, John, why don't you play a different guitar? Or Ed, why don't you play a different fiddle? Why are you playing an electric? Why can't you play an acoustic? Well, I could play an acoustic. It's not going to sound like us. And I argue to say that if you want the perpetual motion sound, we have to accept it as a package, because the gear is our instruments. We try to work with, we have to work with other sound engineers for larger festivals and such. And it's, we have to have a transparent sound engineer to be open to who we are as a band, so that we can work with them to help tune what is there to create our sound as Perpetual Emotion. And our sound is a very big, full sound that doesn't have an old-time kind of bite to it. It's more of a club-like sound that doesn't pierce you in the ear, but more lifts you physically. With a subwoofer, and which is one of the reasons why I spend so much time on stage tuning that thing. I get every single, right down to the hertz, moving, trying to get it so that, John's feet feel like a certain way. And if we were to do that with another sound engineer, it would take a tremendous amount of time to get to that point. In fact, a lot of times hours. We'll sit down and we'll say, no, that's not right, no, we need to change the EQ set points, we need to change the crossover points, and maybe the subs are not in the right place, but it's just so much easier when we bring our gear up, we set it up, that's the way we've been doing it, that's our sound, we feel great on stage, the dancers feel great on the floor, and it happens that way consistently over and over and over. And if it works, and it's working tremendously well, why change it? There are two different modules. There's the module that creates my sound, and then there's the module that presents the sound to the dancers or to the audience. And both are just as important. And I always view us as a band on stage, or a band, as coming halfway. The sound engineer takes the sound the other halfway and tunes the room and brings it out to the audience. And I argue to say that the sound engineer should create what's called a transparent sound. The sound engineer should not be heard, it should not be seen, it should be transparent to bring that performance or that sound that's being created on stage out to the audience as transparently as possible. Now granted, I understand that in a lot of situations I might not get to 100%, and the best I might get to 80%, but it's consistent, and that's the key, that's the big key, that we are used to going out there and playing, and there it is. If I was playing an acoustic violin through a microphone, I would have no problems, playing through other gear, because that's what other sound engineers are used to. But we are such an anomaly that it's almost like, you know, my sound processing doesn't stop at my board. It continues all the way through the system, even as, you know, right up to where the speakers are placed in the room. Because, you know, if we play through a system and the speakers are right down in front of the front row, it's going to be way overwhelming for the people in the front, and the people in the back are not going to get that lift, that feel, that power. So, you know, there's, you know, I can go on and on and on about this subject, but there's so many reasons for it, and it's easy for me to do. You know, I wouldn't say easy, but, you know, I have to cart the equipment around.
That's super good stuff.
Okay.